12 hours ago, Donald Trump stepped up to the podium and announced a 2-week ceasefire with Iran. The bombs would stop. The Strait of Hormuz would reopen. 40 days of escalating conflict were supposedly coming to an end. Wall Street exhaled. Oil crashed more than 10% in minutes. Stock futures exploded higher. Every headline screamed the same message: peace at last, crisis over, relief rally underway. And then something completely unexpected happened. Gold surged 3%. Silver exploded nearly 7%, ripping straight up to 3-week highs at $77 per ounce. While CNBC was busy celebrating the end of the war, China quietly added another 500,000 ounces of gold to their official reserves. Wait, that is backwards. That is not how markets are supposed to work. When wars end, gold is supposed to fall. When fear disappears, safe haven assets get dumped. When peace breaks out, you sell protection and buy risk assets. So why are the biggest, smartest players on the planet doing the exact opposite? Because they know something the headlines are not telling you, something that completely changes what happens next. This ceasefire is not peace. It is a setup. And the charts I'm about to show you prove exactly why gold and silver are primed for the biggest move of this entire bull market. Welcome back to the UnCCN economy. Smash that subscribe button and hit like right now, because what I'm about to break down could completely reshape how you think about your money over the next 12 months. Let's get straight into it. Let me start with what actually happened in the last 24 hours, because the mainstream narrative and the cold reality are two completely different things. President Trump announced a 2-week ceasefire with Iran. Not a peace treaty, not an end to the conflict. Just a 14-day pause. In exchange, Iran agreed to allow limited traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Negotiations are scheduled to begin in Islamabad on April 10th. The market reaction was instant and violent. Oil plunged more than 10%, briefly dropping below $100 a barrel for the first time since the war started. The dollar weakened almost 1% against major currencies. Global stock markets surged on what everyone immediately labeled a relief rally. And gold? Gold ripped 3% higher in a single session. Silver went vertical, surging nearly 7% to $77. This makes zero sense on the surface. Peace should crush gold and silver, not launch them higher. So why is the smart money aggressively buying protection even on ceasefire news? Because they know this is not peace. This is a temporary pause. And what comes after this pause could be far more dangerous than what came before. Let me show you why. First, look at Iran's actual demands. The 10-point proposal that supposedly formed the basis of this ceasefire. Iran wants full control over traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, coordinated directly with their armed forces. They want the United States to withdraw all combat forces from every base in the region. They want every sanction, primary and secondary, lifted immediately. They want full financial compensation for war damages. They want all frozen Iranian assets released. And they insist on continuing uranium enrichment. Let me be crystal clear. There is exactly zero chance the United States accepts these terms. This is not a serious negotiating position. This is a wish list designed to fail. Traders have already coined a term for this pattern. TACO. Trump always chickens out. Threaten destruction, extend the deadline, claim progress, repeat. We've seen this exact movie play out multiple times in recent weeks. So here's the real question. What happens in 2 weeks when these negotiations inevitably collapse? What happens when Iran refuses to surrender control of the strait? What happens when Trump's patience finally runs out? The bombs will start falling again. Oil will spike. Fear will flood back into the market. And everyone who sold their gold and silver on peace headlines will be scrambling to buy it back at much higher prices. The smart money isn't waiting for that moment. They are positioning right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, did you buy the ceasefire story, or do you see this as another fake out? I read every comment and want to know what you're seeing. Now, let me show you something most people completely missed while staring at the ceasefire headlines. Something that reveals exactly what the largest players on Earth actually think about the future of the dollar. China just added to their gold reserves again. In March alone, they increased official holdings to 74.38 million ounces. But the real story is in the bigger picture. Look at the 6-year chart of China's gold holdings versus their U.S. Treasury holdings. The white line is gold, steadily rising. The orange line is U.S. Treasuries, collapsing. In 2020, China held over $100 billion in U.S. Treasuries. Today, that number has dropped to around $680 billion. They have dumped more than $400 billion in American debt in just 6 years. And where did that money go? Straight into physical gold. This shift accelerated dramatically after 2022, when the West froze half of Russia's central bank reserves. China watched it happen and made a decision: never again. They are de-dollarizing at full speed, and gold is their primary weapon of choice. If this is making you rethink your own portfolio, hit that like button right now. More people need to see this.